So there I was, sitting in the parking lot of an auto shop, holding a bill for $480. And I did the thing I'm not proud of. I cried. Not the pretty kind of crying either. The ugly kind, where you're trying to catch it before your 4-year-old in the back seat notices. And he notices anyway. And he goes, "Mommy, are you sad?" And I said, "No, baby, Mommy just has something in her eye." And he said, "Both eyes?" Because kids are honest little lie detectors. The truck needed a new part I didn't understand and couldn't argue with. The baby had an ear infection 2 weeks before that meant an urgent care copay. And when I opened my banking app in that parking lot, the number I saw made my stomach drop. There was no cushion. There was no little pile of money sitting there for exactly this. There was just the regular money, the money that already had a job, every single dollar of it spoken for before it ever hit the account. And I remember thinking, how am I a grown woman with 2 kids, and I still don't have $400 that isn't already promised to someone else? If that has ever been you, in a parking lot, in a bathroom with the fan on so nobody hears, staring at a number, I want you to stay with me. Because that afternoon was the day I started something small and a little silly looking, and 11 months later, I had saved $5,050 in cash. Real money. Money I could hold. And I want to tell you exactly how I did it. The honest way, the busy mom way, with all the messy middle parts nobody puts in the highlight reel. Hi, I'm Alora, and welcome back to the Finance Mom HQ. If you're new here, I'm just a mom who got tired of feeling behind with money and started figuring things out one real experiment at a time. And then I come here and tell you the truth about what actually worked and what flopped. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a finance degree. I have a 4-year-old, a baby, a husband, a mountain of laundry, and a lot of lessons I learned the hard way. So let's get into this one, because I really think it might be the thing that finally clicks for some of you. Okay, so the 100 envelope challenge. If you've never heard of it, it's almost embarrassingly simple, and I think that's exactly why it works. You take 100 envelopes, you number them 1 through 100. So envelope number 1, envelope number 2, all the way up to envelope 100. Then the idea is, every day, you reach in, you pull out an envelope at random, and whatever number is on that envelope, that's how many dollars you put inside it. So if you pull envelope 37, you put $37 in it. If you pull envelope 4, you put $4 in it. You seal it, you set it aside, and you don't touch it. And here's the beautiful math part. If you do all 100 envelopes, 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way up to 100, that adds up to $5,050. Every single time. That's not a typo, and that's not me rounding up to sound impressive. 100 envelopes, done, equals $5,050 sitting in your hands. Now, when I first heard about this, my very first reaction was, that's cute, but that's for people with money. Because let's be real, if you're pulling a random envelope every day, some days you're going to pull a big number. And the thought of some random Tuesday where I have to come up with $89 in cash, on top of groceries and gas and the kids and everything else, that felt impossible. And I almost scrolled right past it, the same way I'd scrolled past 100 money tips before. But something about the physical part stuck with me. Because here's the thing you need to know about me and money. I have downloaded every app. Every single one. The Roundup apps, the automatic transfer apps, the ones with the little charts and the confetti animation when you hit a goal. And you know what happened every time? Within about 3 weeks, I stopped looking at it. It became just another notification I swiped away. The money in a savings app never felt real to me. It felt like a number on a screen, and numbers on a screen are so easy to move, so easy to raid, so easy to tell yourself, I'll put it back next week. I'd transfer $40 into savings feeling all responsible, and then 3 days later the car needed gas and I'd quietly transfer it right back and pretend that didn't count. But cash is different. Cash you have to physically go find. Cash you have to physically pull out of an envelope. And there's this little moment of friction, this tiny moment where you have to look yourself in the eye and decide, am I really going to break this seal for takeout? And 9 times out of 10, that little moment of friction was enough to stop me. That's the part the apps never had. And the randomness. Oh, the randomness is sneaky good too. Because when you don't know what number you're going to pull, it turns into a little game. There's this tiny hit of suspense every single day. Is it going to be a good day or a rough one? And I know that sounds ridiculous, like I'm describing a scratch-off lottery ticket. But for a tired mom who does the same 12 tasks every single day, Having one tiny, unpredictable fun moment actually mattered. It gave the whole thing a heartbeat.
So I went to the dollar store and I bought a pack of envelopes. And honestly, I felt a little foolish standing there in the aisle, a grown woman about to number envelopes like it's a kindergarten craft. But I bought them, I brought them home, and after the kids went to bed that night, I sat at the kitchen table and I wrote the numbers on all 100 of them with a Sharpie. 1 through 100. And I have to tell you, there was something weirdly calming about it. Just the act of writing the numbers, of setting up something for future me. It felt like I was finally doing something instead of just worrying. Worrying is exhausting, and it accomplishes nothing. This, at least, was motion.
Now, here's where I have to get honest with you, because if I just told you, and then I pulled an envelope every day and it was magical, I'd be lying to your face, and that's not what we do here. Because the very first week, reality showed up. The classic version of this challenge says one envelope every single day for 100 days, and you're done in a little over 3 months. And that is a beautiful plan for somebody whose life is predictable. My life is not predictable. My life is a baby who decides at 2 a.m. that sleep is for the weak. My life is a week where the grocery bill is somehow $90 more than last week for reasons nobody can explain. My life is 3 birthday parties in 1 month, all requiring gifts. The idea that I could reliably produce a random dollar amount in cash every single day for 100 days straight was just not connected to reality. And I think this is exactly where most people quit. They try to do it the perfect textbook way. They miss a few days, they feel like a failure, and they abandon the whole thing. I almost did that in week 1.
But then I gave myself permission to change the rules. And I need you to hear this part because it's the whole reason I actually finished. It is your challenge. There is no envelope police. There is no referee who's going to blow a whistle if you don't pull one on a Tuesday. So I adapted it to my actual life, and here's what that looked like. First, I went weekly instead of daily. Instead of 1 envelope a day, I did a batch once a week, usually on a Sunday night after the kids were down, which honestly became this little quiet ritual I started to look forward to. Second, and this is the trick that saved me, I stopped pulling completely at random and started pulling strategically for my week. Now, some purists would say that's cheating. I say it's called being a functional adult with a variable income. On a tight week, a week where money was scary, I deliberately reach for the low envelopes, the 1s, 2, 3s, 5s. Because even in a broke week, almost anybody can find $4. $4 is a fountain drink I didn't buy. And on a good week, a payday week, a week where my husband got a little overtime, or the big one, tax refund week, that's when I'd pull the monsters. The 80s, the 90s, the 100. I saved the big, scary envelopes for the weeks I could actually handle them. And you guys, that one change turned this from an impossible thing into a doable thing. Because the total is the same, no matter what order you do them in. 1 through 100 adds up to 5,050, whether you pull the 97 in January or in August. The math does not care about the order. So why would I torture myself by pulling a $97 envelope during the exact week the electric bill was due? I wouldn't. I matched the envelope to the week, and suddenly I was in control instead of being at the mercy of a random draw. If you're finding this helpful so far, if any of this is making you nod along, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. I put out real, honest money stuff for moms every single week. No shame, no lectures, no pretending I have it all figured out. Just me sharing what actually works when you're raising little humans on a real budget. Subscribing is free, it takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this little channel keep going. Okay, back to the envelopes, because we're getting to the part where it almost fell apart. So the first month or so was honestly kind of fun. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. There's this momentum in the beginning, this newness, where you're excited and it's easy to find the small amounts. I did a bunch of the little envelopes early, the ones through the teens and 20s, and watching that stack of sealed envelopes grow on the top shelf of my closet gave me a feeling I hadn't had with money in years. Pride. Actual pride. I'd open the closet to get a towel and see that little growing pile and think, look at that. Look what I'm doing. And my 4-year-old got completely obsessed with it, which I did not see coming. He appointed himself the official envelope picker. He would come running when it was time and go, "Can I pick? Can I pick?" And he'd close his eyes real dramatic and grab one and announce the number like he was on a game show. And I let him, most of the time.
even though sometimes his little hand would grab a 52 on a week I was hoping for a 5, and I'd have to gently steer him. Ooh, good pick, buddy, but let's save that big one for a special week, okay? And what I didn't fully realize in the moment is that he was learning. He was watching his mom save money on purpose, watching us set aside a little at a time, and he started asking questions about it. That was a gift I didn't expect from a pack of dollar store envelopes.
But then came the middle, and nobody warns you about the middle. The middle of any challenge is where dreams go to die, and this was no exception. It was somewhere around month 4 or 5. The excitement had worn off. It wasn't new and shiny anymore. It was just a thing I had to keep doing. And that's when life decided to test me. We had a brutal stretch. The washing machine started making a sound like it was trying to achieve liftoff. The baby had a doctor's visit that turned into a referral that turned into a copay I wasn't expecting. My husband's hours got cut for a couple of weeks. And it was in the middle of this exact bad stretch that I sat down on a Sunday, went to grab an easy, low envelope, and I realized I'd already used most of the little ones. I'd been too eager in the beginning, gobbling up the easy envelopes, and now the pile that was left was heavy. Big numbers. And the smallest one I had left that week was still bigger than I wanted, and staring back at me, right near the top, was the 97. And I want to be really honest about this moment because I think it's the most important part of the whole story. I looked at that $97 envelope during the worst money week I'd had in months, and every single part of me wanted to quit. That little voice showed up, the mean one, the one that goes, "Who do you think you are? This was a silly idea. You're playing craft time with envelopes while real bills are stacking up. Just take the money that's already saved and use it. Quit pretending." And I sat there at that kitchen table for a long time. I really almost did it. I almost pulled all the envelopes open, dumped the cash back into checking, and called the whole thing a cute failed experiment. But here's what stopped me. I thought about that parking lot. I thought about the crying in front of my kid feeling, the no cushion feeling, the promised every dollar feeling. And I realized the whole point of this was so I would never have to feel that again. Quitting would just send me right back there. So I made a deal with myself. And this is the mom-friendly rule I want to give you. On a bad week, you do not have to do a big envelope, and you do not have to quit. You just do what you can. So that week, I didn't do the 97. I didn't do any of the big scary ones. I found a spare few dollars, I did a small envelope, one of the last little ones, and I sealed it, and I told that mean voice to sit down. I kept the streak alive without breaking myself. And you know what? The next month, things got a little better. My husband's hours came back, and I did the 97 then, on a week that could actually carry it. The envelope waited for me. Envelopes are very patient. They'll wait. Now I have to tell you about the hiding, because there was a real practical problem I ran into, and it's one you might have too, especially if you've got a toddler in the mix. Cash sitting around the house is dangerous, and I don't mean somebody's going to break in and steal it. I mean me. I am the threat. When you know there's a growing pile of cash in your closet, there is a constant, low, humming temptation to just borrow a little. I'll just take 20 from envelope 40 and put it back Friday. No, that's how it dies. So I had to hide the money from myself. I literally put the sealed envelopes in a box, taped the box shut, wrote "winter stuff" on it in marker, and shoved it up on the highest closet shelf behind the actual winter stuff, where I'd need a step stool and a reason to get to it. Out of sight, out of easy reach, out of temptation. And for anybody with curious little hands in the house, there's a bigger reason to keep it locked away. Or honestly, to skip the physical cash entirely, which I'll come back to in a minute for those of you where cash just isn't safe or smart with toddlers around. Let's talk about what I actually gave up to make this work, because this is where a lot of money advice gets preachy, and I promised you I wouldn't do that. I am not here to tell you to stop buying coffee. I will never tell you that. Your $4 coffee is not the reason you're broke, and anybody who tells you it is has never survived a Monday with a teething baby. What I gave up was honestly pretty small and pretty painless. We did fewer takeout nights. Not zero, I'm not a monster, but we went from ordering in like 3 times a week down to maybe once. And that alone, that one change, freed up a shocking amount of money that went straight into envelopes. I looked at our takeout and delivery spending, and it was like $200, $250 some months. That's insane when you see it written down. So we cooked more, not fancy. Some nights dinner was scrambled eggs and toast, and everybody survived. I also canceled 2 subscriptions we weren't using.
One was a streaming service we'd watched exactly one show on in 4 months, and one was some app subscription my husband forgot he even signed up for. That was another $20-something a month, just evaporating, and now it went into an envelope instead. But here's what I refuse to give up, and I want you to write this down somewhere because it's the reason I lasted 11 months instead of quitting in 3. I refuse to make my kids' lives smaller. I refuse to make my own life joyless. We still did the little things. We still got the occasional ice cream after the park. I still bought myself the nice shampoo instead of the sad, cheap one. Because deprivation does not work. It just doesn't. When you squeeze every ounce of joy out of your budget, you white-knuckle it for a few weeks and then you crack. And you crack hard. And you undo everything in one resentful weekend. I've done that. This time I built in room to breathe. I was saving on purpose, but I wasn't punishing my family for the fact that money is hard. Those two things are different, and the difference is everything. So let's talk milestones, because hitting these little markers is what kept me going through the boring middle stretches. The first big one was $1,000. When I counted up the envelopes and realized I'd crossed $1,000 in cash, I actually sat on my closet floor and just held it for a minute. I had never in my adult life had $1,000 that wasn't already promised to a bill. It felt unreal. Then came the halfway point, which for this challenge is right around $2,500. And hitting halfway is huge psychologically, because suddenly the finish line is closer than the start. You've done the hard part of building the habit. And then, the last 10 envelopes. By the end, the only envelopes I had left were the big ones, because that's just how it shakes out. The little ones get used up along the way. So the final stretch was all heavy hitters. The 90s, the 100. And weirdly, by then it didn't scare me anymore, because I'd built the muscle. I'd gotten so much better at finding money, at cooking instead of ordering, at not raiding the box, that even the big envelopes felt manageable. The last one I did was, fittingly, envelope number 100. I'd saved it on purpose. $100 cash into the last envelope, and I sealed it and I just sat there. And then I did the thing. The reveal. I waited for a Saturday when the baby was napping and my son was at his grandma's, and I pulled that winter stuff box down off the shelf, and I cut the tape, and I dumped all 100 envelopes onto my bed. And then I opened every single one, and I counted it, out loud, like a lunatic, alone in my room. And when I got to the end, there it was. $5,050 in cash, spread across my comforter. I had done it. 11 months, some good weeks, some absolutely terrible weeks, one near quit at a kitchen table, a 4-year-old game show host, and a box labeled with a lie. And it added up to $5,050 real dollars that a year earlier, I could not have imagined having. And I'll be honest with you about how it felt, because it wasn't fireworks. It was quieter than that. And better. It felt like safety. It felt like the opposite of that parking lot. It felt like exhaling a breath I'd been holding for years. So here's what I did with it, and I tried to be smart, because saving it is only half the job. The biggest chunk, most of it, went straight into a real emergency fund, a separate savings account that I do not touch, that exists for exactly one purpose, which is so that the next time the truck breaks down or a kid gets sick, I am not crying in a parking lot. I am annoyed, sure, but I am not scared. That is the whole difference between annoyed and scared, and it costs a few $1,000s, and it is worth every penny. Then I took a small piece of it, and I put a little into each of my kids' futures, just a small start for each of them, because part of why I do any of this is them. And I'll be honest, I kept just a little bit, a small amount, to do one nice, normal thing for our family. Because we earned it, and because celebrating a win is how you make yourself want to do it again. This whole channel, this whole life really, it's about raising kids and retirement funds at the same time, doing the little scared, brave things now so that future us and future them get to breathe a little easier. That's the whole game. Okay, so now the part you actually came for. How can you do this in your real, busy, imperfect life? Let me give you the mom-friendly version, the one that actually accounts for the fact that you have approximately -4 hours of free time. First, and I cannot say this loud enough, you do not have to do the full 5,050. If 100 envelopes feels like staring up at a mountain, don't start there. Do a smaller version. Try a 25 envelope challenge. Number them 1 through 25, and when you finish, that adds up to $325. $325 is a car repair. It's a medical copay. It's the difference between a crisis and an inconvenience. And it's completely doable in a couple of months. You can always do another round after. Start where you actually are, not where some perfect person on the internet says you should be.
Second, go weekly, not daily. I know the classic version says every day, but daily is what breaks busy moms. Pick one night a week, mine was Sunday, make yourself a cup of tea, and do your envelope or two for the week then. Make it a tiny ritual instead of a daily chore. Third, pull your envelopes to match your week, not at random. On a tight week, grab the small numbers. On a payday week or when a little extra comes in, grab the big scary ones. You are allowed to do this. The total comes out exactly the same. Work with your real cash flow instead of against it. Fourth, and this is important for a lot of you, if cash in the house is not safe or not smart, and with little kids around it very often isn't, do the digital version. You don't need physical envelopes at all. Keep a numbered list in your phone's Notes app, and each week, when you do an envelope, you just transfer that dollar amount into a separate savings account and cross the number off your list. Same challenge, same $5,050 at the end. Zero risk of a toddler turning envelope 60 into confetti, and zero temptation to physically rate it. Some banks even let you open little sub-accounts you can name, so you can literally have one called Envelope Challenge and watch it grow. If you're an app person, do it as an app. If you're a cash person like me, do it in cash. The method matters way less than the momentum. And fifth, maybe the most important one of all. If you miss a day, or a week, or a whole month, do not restart. Do not start over. Do not throw it out. This is the rule that saves everyone, because the number one way people fail at any money habit is they miss a bit, decide they've ruined it, and quit entirely. You did not ruin anything. If life explodes and you skip 3 weeks, you just pick it back up on the next Sunday exactly where you left off. The envelopes wait. The money you already saved doesn't disappear because you took a break. Progress is progress, even when it's slow, even when it's interrupted. A challenge with a bunch of gaps in it that you actually finish beats a perfect one you quit every single time. So that's it. That's the whole thing. That's once a tired, broke-feeling mom in a parking lot turned a $2 pack of envelopes into $5,050. And, more than the money, into the feeling of finally not being scared. If you take one thing from me today, let it be this. You are not behind. You are not bad with money. You have just never had a system that fit your actual life. This one bends to fit you. You get to make the rules. You get to go slow. You get to protect your joy while you do it. If this spoke to you, please subscribe and stick around, because we're in this together. All of us moms figuring it out one envelope, 1 week, one small brave choice at a time. Leave me a comment and tell me if you're going to try it, and which version, the full 100 or a smaller start. Because I read every single one, and honestly, nothing makes my day like hearing one of you say, "I'm starting this week." Go grab some envelopes or open a note in your phone and number that first one. Future you is going to be so grateful you did. Take care of yourself, be gentle with yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.